Welcome to Sleeping with Sarah. I'm Sarah Albritton, a narcoleptic comedian, and this is the podcast where I interview people in my bed and we talk about sleep, comedy, and relationships. This is my 66th episode, and I interviewed comedian AJ Lubecker. AJ was a Chicago comedian and recently moved to LA. You can follow AJ on Twitter and Instagram at @thereal_AJ. Again, that's @thereal_AJ. We talked about starting comedy at 15 and having your mom go with you to open mics, people assuming you're a stoner, and a last-minute decision to LA, and more. You can catch me on the 21st at I.O. and the 22nd at Laugh Factory in Chicago at 7:30. Sleeping with Sarah is happy to be part of the Laugh Factory podcast network. I'd also like to give a shout out to Kavita, which is a probiotic drink, which means it's like healthy-ish. My favorite flavor is a mojito, which would go good with vodka, but also good plain as well. It's a low-calorie, low-sugar, and it's delicious. We're also brought to you by Audible.com. Go to audibletrial.com/sleepingwithsarah to get a free audiobook of your choice. This week, I'd like to recommend Trevor Noah, Born a Crime. Again, that's audibletrial.com/sleepingwithsarah. If you like this podcast, please rate and review on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Google Play, wherever you listen to the podcast. And also check out our website, sleepingwithsarah.com, or follow us on Twitter and Instagram and everything else at Sarah Albritton. Well, let's get started with the show. Welcome to Sleeping with Sarah. I'm Sarah Albritton, and I'm here with my guest, AJ Lubecker.
Here I am.
Did I say that right? Lubecker?
Lubecker.
Lubecker. Sorry, I don't know why I said Lubecker.
I don't know. Sometimes I think people think it's more complicated than it is.
That's with a lot of things.
I think, yeah.
You're starting off very philosophical here.
Yeah, it's. I think it's more like very stoner philosophical, very borderline.
Looking at specks in the stars.
Yeah, just saying something very vague, and then it comes across as being very deep.
Yeah.
It's a little trick.
You just don't say a lot, and when you say something, make sure that it's vague enough to possibly be like a prophecy.
Exactly. Yeah, that there's something deep meaning, and it really wasn't. It was not meant to be that at all, but yeah, Lubecker.
Lubecker. Gotcha.
Yep.
How'd you sleep last night, AJ?
Last night I slept pretty well. I think it was 2 nights, Friday, Saturday, I didn't sleep well. I had to wake up earlier and I was out later. That I was looking forward to last night sleeping. Yes. And I was able to sleep well.
It's one of those things, it's like, hey, I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to get ready for bed at 10:30 at night. I'm going to look forward to sleeping.
Yeah. I normally kind of try to hold off till I feel tired, and then, because otherwise I won't fall asleep.
Do you have problems with sleeping?
I'm not a great, it takes me a while to fall asleep. Gotcha. Sometimes an hour of just...
So what do you do? Count sheep? Like, what do you do?
Well, normally, sometimes I write. I say I write either right before I'm falling asleep, then I'll type it in my phone, which probably doesn't help anything. For me,
when I would fall asleep in class, I would start to write, and then you could see in the notes where I started to get tired, and then it just runs off and doesn't make any sense. Yeah. Do you get a lot of those?
Kind of, but normally it's like a weird one-liner I think of, and then I can just type it in.
You think it's funny, and then in the morning you're like, what was I thinking?
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes is that situation where it's just like, that wasn't good.
Do you write every day?
I do some sort of writing every day. Not necessarily stand-up, but sometimes like trying to write a bunch of jokes, like monologue type jokes for Twitter, or writing, like reading an old spec or something.
Yeah, that's cool. So you
punch up.
Yeah, that's awesome. I do different types of writing too, so it's hard to like kind of focus on like one kind from day to day. It's like that. Well, that's one nice thing about having a writing partner is like we pick specific times and we're like, hey, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna punch up today, or we're gonna rework this.
I've actually been writing a lot of jokes with Corey Wagner, who was actually on the POV show last week.
Oh,
he was an interview. He was a guest, I think.
Yeah, he was.
We like write random kind of more monologue jokes that we'll send each other. We're like, write 25 a week. And
oh, that's good. So you almost have someone else to motivate you.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So that's been cool.
So is it what you want to do? Do late night writing?
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
I'm not super, I can like write one-liners pretty well, but I'm not like, it's not my favorite thing to do.
Yeah.
Sit down and write. Like, and I know late night writing is like you just write 100 a day.
Because they separate. Most of the writing rooms separate the monologue writers from the sketch writers.
Okay, yeah.
And so most of them, they're just like joke mills, you know? Yeah. And the only thing is that I've heard that's unfortunate is that even if a joke doesn't get picked up, if you write in the writer's room, you can't use it.
Okay.
So, like, you might write 100 jokes and they throw out 95 of them.
And you're like...
But still, none of those 95s, you can't put them on Twitter. You can't... they technically own them. So that's the only thing that kind of sucks about that.
That definitely is a bummer.
Yeah.
I don't think... I didn't really know I'm sure every show's a little different.
I'm sure every show's a little different. Like, and I'm not just saying... I would still love to write for late night. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I've heard that's what's kind of crushing about it is the you write 100-something jokes and then they don't all get in, or most of them. Most of them,
yeah. If it was just a show, hey, we're just gonna do the monologue joke show. It's just gonna be 100 jokes in a row.
Yeah, no,
the audience would get so exhausted for that so fast.
5 and then
I gotta say, I kind of miss your show. Yeah, it's so fun.
Yeah, I've missed it as well.
Yes,
it's been. It was like I think we ended up doing the Funked Up Friday. I think we did about 60 of them.
That's great.
So like basically a full year, I was there every Friday. Like that's just a lot to.
It was a real fun show, and you guys got goofy at the end, which is cool.
Yeah, we like to party a bit, and
are you gonna try to take that somewhere else?
Possibly. I wanted to keep that in the realm of possibility. I would. Yeah, we did it weekly here
at the Laugh
Factory, and so that's definitely a possible thing. Still just not exactly sure.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, do I want to do that again? Or then there's something nice about starting something new, too.
Yeah, there's something exciting about doing something different. And you'll be out somewhere else, so you'll be on the West Coast.
Exactly.
I feel like I've interviewed a lot of people from LA recently. In the last couple days, they'll all be spread out on the podcast. Yeah. But, like, you're the third person in a row I think I've interviewed from LA.
Yep. Yeah.
But... That will be from LA by the time this comes out.
By the time,
but you look like you're from LA. You look like a stoner surfer kind of guy.
I think a lot of people tell me that. They've asked me if I was moving away from Chicago, and they assume that it's LA, or just tell me that I do well there.
Yeah.
Which I kind of agree with. In a sense. I'd rather be there than I'm a little bit of a... slower moving person.
Yeah. Or you just want to be stoned all the time because it's legal there now.
That is definitely a thing. I actually don't I'm not like a huge stoner guy. A lot of people just assume I am by the way I talk. And then
just the cadence of
after
your voice.
shows I get that a lot, like, oh my gosh, are you stoned? And like people just assume, and I'm like, oh no.
This is just your pacing.
Regular. And then
your vocal pacing is like that of like a 60-year-old guy in the South on a porch, you know?
Yeah.
That's just kind of what I imagine, like in Georgia.
I've gotten I get a lot of weird things. People have asked me if I was from I've gotten Boston a lot. Then I also have gotten South, are you from down south or...
And you're just from the burbs.
Yeah. I think the Chicago accent is probably but it's just a more laid back version of it. So might be.
You're like the Chicago accent if we didn't have the traffic.
Yeah. I think it sounds less angry.
It definitely does.
But yeah, someone said Matthew McConaughey mixed with like Christopher Walken.
Can you do either of those?
Not really. I haven't really worked on I used to mess around with impressions, but I can't. I'm not confident enough to do it.
Yeah, impressions are hard.
I'd want them to be good if I were to actually be doing it. But yeah, I'd say I get Christopher Walken a lot too, which is kind of a weird.
Yeah.
I don't.
Because you're so young. Yeah. It's like you're a baby. You're what are you, 22?
23.
23.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't know.
So you're getting up there. You're almost to the point where people will hopefully stop calling you a baby.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no. It's close, which is, I wanted to get out to LA before I was an adult.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, you could still play.
Yeah,
you can still play high school.
13 Reasons Why, but I don't know.
And you started pretty young, though, with comedy.
Yes, yeah. I started when I was 15, and then just kind of
How did you start? Was it a talent show, or what was it?
I actually just came down downtown and with my mom drove me down.
You're like, hey, Mom, I want to do this thing called stand-up comedy.
Yeah, and it was a thing that, I always wanted to do, and then it just kind of happened that I feel like it's a weird thing that you can't really do when you're a kid. You can't. And
I've interviewed a couple people, like Brad Rickard. He started when he was 14, and like some people that started really young, and it isn't easy to do. Because you can't get into the bars.
Yeah.
There are some. And there are some people I think I see around that I don't realize. I'm like, oh, I hardly see that person. It's because I only see them at the theaters.
Yeah, at the theaters
that don't.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely, and even I think it's kind of a unique art because you need to do it in front of people. Like, you can't just sit in your room and.
It's not like guitar where you can just get really, really good. And
or even writing. I think just any other sort of writing you can be posting online or and be getting feedback on, but stand up you need to. Be in front of people.
Well, the audience, I think, is so much part of the show.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people that haven't seen stand-up a lot or are new to that world, don't realize that. Yeah. The audience, the energy of the audience really makes a huge difference on whether the show works or not.
Yeah, definitely. And then I think also when you're younger, there's a point where it's it's comedy's for adults, stand-up is. So you need to break that age where it's appropriate for you to be in the crowd with your mother, Yeah,
so how did
it's a weird...
Yeah, how did you get that? How did you get the exposure to stand-up so young? And who was it?
Well, I was always super into SNL, the best of DVDs I was obsessed with. And then...
And you were we're talking Tina Fey era?
More, but the best of DVDs were older.
Oh,
so more Farley, Sandler, and those guys I was super into. And then I kind of, I like the stand-up DVD, or CDs, albums that my parents would really let me listen to were just Seinfeld and Stephen Wright.
So they were very protective. It's not like you were listening to Richard Pryor when you were a kid.
I was not allowed to listen to, most stand-up albums, but I knew that, but I loved Adam Sandler movies, and I knew that he was a stand-up. Yeah. That's where he cut his teeth first, so. Well,
it's so weird, because when we grew up, we didn't, I know you had a lot of the internet, but still, well, I guess you had the internet the whole time. Our internet wasn't really
I'd say by the time the internet was, or YouTube was totally a thing, it was still kind of early.
Yeah.
And Netflix,
So for me, it wasn't it had to be on, or I recorded it or something. Yeah. And my parents were super strict too. They wouldn't let me watch R-rated movies basically until I was old enough. To go and drive myself to the.
Yeah, my parents weren't strict about it, but they were not gonna buy me explicit CDs type of thing. And then
I did get away with buying a couple Eminem CDs. I was pretty happy about that.
Yeah, I got a couple clean versions of...
Oh, I remember. I don't even know if they do that. I don't even know if they do that anymore. Do they?
So. I don't know.
Like, I think that it's become so lax. Like, if I was, like, 13 now, people wouldn't blink an eye if I was trying to get a CD. Because they're like, oh, you want to buy a CD?
Yeah.
We're not even going to care. We're just happy you're going to buy a CD.
Yeah. Lots of times I've seen, I think they release the clean versions of the albums for free. Mm-hmm. And then... Which I don't know if that is actually a thing. Like, oh, kids could just click on and listen, so it's got to be clean. If that's a law, or
I don't think
if they know nobody really wants that. So.
I mean, like, even like liquor websites, you click, it's like, are you 18?
Yeah.
I mean, if it's that easy, if you're a kid, you're just going to be like, yeah, of course I'm 18.
Yeah, exactly.
But my only thing is it is different because I feel like kids nowadays are so exposed to, like, so much sex and stuff so early and porn and it's changing the landscape of how people are with that. Like kids that are like 19, 20 are like getting into like choking and shit that you know, like weird stuff.
Yeah, that it's
and I don't know how they can stop that. Like I don't know if they're like how they can really monitor that versus when I was growing up, you know, they had to we had internet, but it took forever to download anything. Yeah. So there was still a level of effort.
Yeah. Everything. And I think with stand-up now, Netflix is big that just not even kids, but everyone's getting exposed to it. Like, I think stand-up's more popular than it's ever been because of Netflix.
Yeah. Do you think, though, that's keeping people from actually going to see it because they can see it in their homes?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I have no idea. I have no idea what the statistics are on it, but I'd assume that people would be more inclined to see it.
Yeah.
Or, like, more comfortable with the idea of... Because I think since Seinfeld, I feel like people have... That's, like, what they assume comedy is.
It's just so different now.
And now there's still a lot of that style.
But those are more old school road dogs, I describe them as. Yeah. And they make a living and they do great, but the thing is, now we're coming up with this class of people, it's all very personal. Yeah. It's all very, very like, you know, like you couldn't do my, jokes. I couldn't do your jokes. Because they come from a very personal and real place, and it's not just... Like observational or topical. Yeah.
And I think it's a good thing that Netflix is kind of introducing that world. But I guess HBO and Showtime did it, but Netflix I think is just so much more accessible to like the masses of people.
Yeah, because everyone knows someone with a Netflix password.
Yeah, exactly.
you know? And it's like 195 countries and stuff, so that's the difference. Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And do you think it's because of that access, that why we have so many more people trying to do it?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I feel like Chicago has just grown so much. Yeah. The scene has gotten so much bigger, even just the time I've been doing stand-up here.
Yeah.
It's like... Holy crap, just so many people.
Yeah, when I was starting, and I started coming down to Chicago in 2009 for it, and it would be, the mics would have a lot of comics there, but it was kind of, there was one mic on a Thursday. Mm-hmm. So there'd be every comic in the city, which was like 90 comedians or something, would be there.
Yeah.
Where now it's like, I think the scene's way more comedians, but there's 20 open mics. Yeah. So normally the lists aren't that long. Like they're 30 or something,
So it's like spread out. So,
but it is, I think, gigantic. I don't understand how I wouldn't want to start now.
Yeah.
Because it's insane. I have no idea what path I would in that.
Yeah, just being, you think if you would have gone with your mom, you would have seen 90, like all those people, you would have been overwhelmed. And...
Yeah, I don't know. It seems nowadays I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
so
weird.
You started miking then. Your mom took you down to a mic. Do you remember what mic it was?
I went to, it was at the Noble Tree Cafe, which is closed now. But it was right on Fullerton and Clark.
Okay.
Kind of by that, I don't know. There's a bunch of restaurants
Five
right there.
Guys
Five
and
Guys,
stuff,
and then that was like an early open mic. I think that mic there was like 4 comics at or something, and then we ended up going downtown to Jake Melnick's.
Okay.
Which was that bar is still there, but the mic's not.
And did you know, like, hey, I had to have 5 minutes, or like, what did you?
Well, we had a family kind of friend that had started pretty young, who he kind of filled me in on mics I could go get into and stuff.
Does he still do stand-up?
No.
No,
he doesn't.
No. So you've outlasted him in stand-up?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, he was a great comic, though. He kind of transitioned to doing different art, like, type of stuff. But, yeah, so that was awesome to have somebody who was young to kind of...
Have you, take under your wing, kind of thing.
Yeah, or just, like, tell me, like, you can go here and you're not going to be bothered, or, like... because there were shows that I had gotten booked on, and then I'd go and like I couldn't get in, you know, and then it's just
that's always that's probably awkward. It's like, hey, you're not 21.
Yeah.
And did you ever try to get a fake ID to help that, or no?
I got a fake, but I didn't want to use it for comedy.
Because you didn't want to get banned.
Yeah, I didn't want to get banned from places. And I still wanted. It was like I think I didn't get a fake until I was 19 or something. And then I was like, I'll be 21 soon enough, and I don't want to...
You don't want that to fuck up. Yeah.
Yeah, and then sometimes I'd be talking about being younger or whatever, which then that really blow the cover.
Yeah, like if the bouncer let you in, you're like, hey, so cool to be 19 in the bar. And he's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, exactly. I did run an open mic for a while in a bar, though, that, before I was 21.
If they just let you, they're like, hey.
It was a bar that I had gone to. It's also closed now, but I was a, regular at with some friends, and then we just started the mic.
Were they closed for letting underage people run things?
Probably. Yeah, that was very illegal, but, yeah, I was drinking for free.
Oh, they let you drink? See, I would have been too paranoid. I would have been like, oh, they let me run the mic here. I'm not going to push it. But you were like, nope, fuck it. I'm going to drink.
Yeah, it was, and I only did it because we had kind of befriended the owner. Because we were going and got in with the fakes, and then it became a thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. But, yeah, we did that mic for 6 months or something. I ran it with Kevin Lopkovich and Patrick Riley and Sean. So, yeah, it was fun. But
so that was your rebellious things is using an ID to get into a bar so you can do comedy. Yeah. Any more rebellious than that, or?
Not really. I mean, I've done a lot of stupid things, but not. Yeah, I haven't ever been in too serious of trouble. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I guess.
What are you laughing about?
I don't know.
You're just trying to think.
Yeah, none of them are really great stories, I don't think. Yeah, I can't even think of, high school mischievous things,
Mischievous, yes. Well, it's so different if you're spending a lot of your time with older people, you start to realize that all the stuff that normal people your age, in high school, are excited about, you're like, okay, I can see how that's lame to older people because I'm spending my time at bars with these older people. Yeah. It gives you some perspective.
Yeah, it definitely gave me a different perspective on things, and it's, I think a lot of comedians have told me, oh, wow, you started when you were 15. That must have been, easy. The rooms must have been so supportive.
Because you're a kid.
Yeah.
Were they?
I'm always no. They were... I was still going up for you, bitter comedians. I've never... if I go to an open mic now, never excited to see, I think, anyone like
unless
going
it's like
up.
Unless it's a name that happens to be popping through.
Like, and then I'm like, oh, this will be cool to watch him work or her work here, work it out, like new material. But other than that, it's like you're just waiting to go up. So
yeah,
it's like
exactly.
You don't go, oh wow, like he's 15-year-old, yay.
Yeah.
This is gonna make my night.
Yeah, no. I think it's like, hey, 15-year-old, let's see if he crash and burns.
Yeah,
you know, it's more like I feel like there's I feel like there's a lot of schadenfreude that's happening in the back rooms of open mics, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, so it wasn't ever, I mean, I bombed when I was 15 years old, and like
you didn't. So what? Wait.
It
so you
happened
just
often.
Yeah. So you're just like, you kept doing it though, and your mom kept doing it. So your mom kept watching you bomb, and was just like, "Hey, I'm still gonna drive you to all these."
Yeah. Well, I think the first night I had a pretty good set, like good enough that I was like, oh, like there we go. Like that was pretty good for being this young, and it's in the back of a bar. Like that's weird, and this joke worked, this joke didn't, and then I think I went again, and then kind of just started, and I wasn't great, but
nobody's great at first,
but it was, I think I did well that first night, and that's kind of when I was like, oh, like I could do this, and then kind of just kept doing it. And
you also probably had younger people at that time. I mean, I know Bo Burnham probably came out later, but younger people that kind of like maybe like showed you, hey, oh yeah, you can be that young and have.
I think Bo Burnham was like definitely a guy that I went to see him my junior year of high school or something when I had, and I think at the time he might have been 20 already or something.
Yeah.
But, and then I would have been 17, so it was like, oh, like still close though.
Yeah.
So he definitely was a guy that I did kind of show me like a young person doing it.
Yeah. Well, I think that matters. Like if you see like, as you see more women doing it, more women will be doing it. If you see more, and people of color, things like that,
Yeah. And which is like why I think that's so important, and that now that, and I do think just with the internet, like having that mass exposure for everyone to be able to find comedians that fit them, just like you find authors and stuff. I think nowadays it has become much more niche where you can like someday it might be more like where there's people that are like very like have their Mark Twain or more like Vonnegut people, or like more contemporary, or where you'll have your preferences of comedians. Like,
well, like authors though, I think that comedians do change over time because we're talking about our lives, and I think it is also the same kind of thing where it's like an author you love and then they're trying something different. And it's like, do you like that or do you not? Like, do you want them to do the old stuff, you know? And it's like that kind of vibe as well. Because you've been doing it for a while now, and how much has that changed your style?
It's changed a lot. When I was starting, and it was in high school, I was actually like talking about high school.
Oh, so that wasn't relatable to anybody in the bars.
But it was more, but I think it was everyone has
gone to high school.
So, I mean, I had jokes about teachers and things that, like, I do, and then when I started getting booked on shows, I did have quite a few jokes that were, like, specific to high school that went well everywhere, pretty much.
That's good.
And then when I graduated high school, then it was like, oh, I literally can't do that joke anymore because I don't look like a kid anymore.
Well, it's also the same thing. Like, I know some comics that were infamous for being virgins, and then they lost their virginity, and they're I lost 15 minutes of material in doing that. And so it's kind of like this, And I had a lot of jokes
about being younger that then once I was getting older and able to be in more bars and stuff, just because I didn't look like a total kid, that places started letting me in to just perform. I had some sets where I felt the crowd like looking at me and trying to figure out like, is he actually just 17 or
is he pretending?
That's a weird, but then I'm like, why would I pretend that? That's the weirdest.
Well, I get that too
thing,
with narcolepsy. Like I was surprised because I was talking to a comic this last weekend and I made because I know people know it, so I made like a little comment like, oh yeah, if I don't fall asleep, I make fun of myself. He's like, what do you mean? And I was like, well, I have narcolepsy. You heard my set. He's like, yeah, I thought you were just playing. I thought you were just joking. I'm like,
why?
Yeah. You think I would just... It'd be different if I were, like, pretending to... If it was a character I was pretending to fall asleep on stage.
Yeah.
But, like, that's just kind of annoying. It's like, why would you think I'd make that up?
Yeah.
But I guess there's a lot of people that try to do that kind of stuff for attention.
Yeah. That is true.
But, yeah, so aside from... Because you were still in high school, so did you have other things you were doing, like, basketball or like... Because I feel like high school's, like... All I can remember is, like... School and learning and extracurriculars. It's like I couldn't imagine having to do comedy on top of that.
Yeah, I was playing hockey and I golfed.
You golfed?
In high school, yeah.
That's nerdy.
And so I played both of those. So I was pretty busy where I wasn't doing. I'd say like by my senior year when I was still golfing, playing hockey. And I had already been doing it for then almost 3 years then. I was probably doing 4 shows a month and then trying to do 4 mics or something.
Okay.
So getting up a couple times a week.
So not like that. Not hitting it hard.
Yeah. And then when I moved to the city to go to DePaul, that's when I kind of started, just because it's easy to go out every night.
You didn't have to have your mom drive you.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, what's interesting is I feel like there's a lot of, like, life milestones that happen between, like, 15 and now. So, like, what I think is interesting is, like, did you share all those milestones, like, on stage?
I started to. I'd say when I moved to the city, started going to DePaul, I started a show at the playground that was called C4, and we did it for like 3 years.
Yeah, I remember that.
It was became like a popular show among college kids that we'd have like 60, 70 people there. And that show is where I started kind of doing more, because I was writing a lot for it, because we had a lot of people coming back. So I wanted new material.
Was it every week?
Yeah, every week.
Oh, wow.
So I started doing more kind of stories and things like that for that show. And then now I think I've definitely gotten much more absurd, like experimental type stuff, is what I really like to do. But I think I had, like, when I started, I was doing very, like, what's up with that type of stuff. And then I started doing more stories and things, and then now it's more one-liners and stuff like that.
I think it's just because I'm currently trying to look back to see, like, my point of view of things when I was in high school, and I was like, oh, it'd be so much easier because if I was just writing jokes about things like that, like my parents catching me smoke weed for the first time or things like that. And so it's like when you're experiencing it live, like if you're still writing about it or people are like, hey, did that really happen? You know? Because there's so much that happens between 15 and 23.
And there was definitely, I think once I was in college, there was, you're just growing up. Like, where I think after, like, now I'll be able to do a lot of my material has a longer shelf life than it did.
So that makes sense.
Was just growing out of it.
Because you're growing up. So another thing about that is it's more time. But, I mean, you can still tell a joke about how you felt at that time. Or
but I've kind of... where it just doesn't feel right. I've tried to tell some older jokes before, and it's just like that.
It's like you're not that person anymore.
you don't need, you can always, it just seems more natural to do stuff.
Yeah.
Now, but, yeah. So that definitely was a kind of weird, different.
It was different than a lot of people that start in their early 20s. But you're still growing up in your early 20s, but it's not the extent. Like, every year is so different.
Yeah.
I don't envy being in high school at all. Like, that was the worst. But
yeah, I like, in it, I wasn't, of course, you know, I was not I wasn't crazy about school, but out of it, I did have fun, you know.
I miss college. That's what I miss.
Yeah.
I love college. I wish I had done stand-up in college. I was doing more improv sketch. I would come to the city to do that, but I wouldn't, didn't get into stand-up till after college. So.
Okay. Yeah, college, it was a lot of fun doing stand-up in college because it was just, especially I think now with the kind of all the DIY type shows, you know, which I think it's easier to do in college because
everyone's trying different. Like, the whole point of college is to try different things and to experiment. And I remember going to comedy shows in college and music shows and my friend's art gallery thing, and I feel like it's like people are more supportive, like, oh, you're a student, it's a student project, I'll be happy to help out with this. And I feel like there's this weird level of support with that.
And I think just more comfortable with trying, like, college kids are more comfortable with even, like, sitting on the floor, you know, to watch a show.
Yeah.
You know, like that's not going to ruin their night.
And college kids are, like, excited about an open mic. Yeah. They're like, oh, an open mic. That's so cool. Let's go to it to watch.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is fine. I'm not saying college kids, please, keep coming to open mics. Make sure you have an audience.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you're about to make this journey, though, to...
it would... I was... March 1st, I was, like, staying in Chicago. No doubt. Like,
whoa,
I wasn't moving. And then I went on this trip to LA and was out there for like 8 days or something, and I did a bunch of shows and met with a bunch of people, and people kept asking me, like, are you moving? And I was like, no. And then
they gotcha.
Yeah, then they got me. But by the end of the week, it just seemed right, so...
Yeah. LA's really fun.
Yeah.
I like it.
I'm, very excited for a new city to...
I think it's just a nice refresh, too. And you're going with your girlfriend, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's also helps a lot, you know, like, just... I think going out solo is kind of...
hard.
It's harder to... I don't know.
Yeah.
Kind of hard to explain, but I think just having that extra support, like, and then still, like, moving somewhere new, but you still, like, have, like, I'll still have Annie with me, and, like, that won't change, you know? Like, which I think there's a lot of comfort in that, you know, knowing that, like, your whole world's not going to change, like, you're just going to be in a new place. You know?
But I feel like there's nice pockets of people in Chicago there. So nice.
No, yeah. I definitely have a ton of friends out there that are...
Yeah.
I'm very excited to kind of reconnect and with them, so...
Yeah, it's so weird. It's like people you haven't talked to in years, but it's like when you're there, it's like, oh yeah, didn't miss a day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And is she in comedy at all?
She is not.
Not yet, because I've met her before. She's just supportive.
Yeah. Just supportive. She's business lady.
You hadn't planned to move to LA in March, and you're like, hey babe, just got back from LA, I really liked it. What do you think about moving in like 2 months?
Well, it was like, I was talking to her throughout, and she was just seeing that I was like very happy. Like, and in Chicago, I think you get caught up in a lot of
scene drama.
Yeah, scene drama where I know it's in LA. I know it exists. But it's a different... What it came down to for me, all the people that I was doing shows with and meeting were doing what I wanted to be doing now. They were working on shows and writing and acting.
And they're doing it more for a living. That's what they appeal to me is. Yeah. Which I love Chicago. It's great to work on things, but there are very few comics that are actually doing it for a living. Yeah. And when I go to LA, it's like everyone on my show, it's like, oh, you're on a writing staff, you're doing that, and it just seems like way different. It's a lot easier to make this your job, your career. Yeah. Even if it's just being in a writer's room and not touring stand-up. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, so that is kind of part of it. But during the week, I was just kind of calling Annie, and it was in Chicago. We got like 10 inches of snow that week, and it was just a nasty week. And LA obviously it was perfect out. And then by the end of the week, I think she asked me first, like, so do you think, like...
that you want to go to LA?
And I was like, kinda. So, and she's not originally from Chicago, so she also was kind of, like, looking for a new... honestly, world to explore.
I kind of wish I moved to more places, because like I did a study abroad, and I'm from Louisville, so I'm not from here, but and I went to school like in DeKalb, but I moved here after, I was like, oh, like there were different times where I think I could have moved somewhere else. It's like explore different cities. So like when you're young like that, it's like you might as well.
Yeah. And I really haven't ever been anywhere else. Yeah. Like I'm from the suburbs originally, but I was always like very much coming downtown for Cubs games, and
a big Cubs fan,
and then for stand up a lot. Once I was 15, I was in the city just a lot for stand up. Where I started getting very familiar with just taking the metro down and then walking places.
Your parents were cool with that? Yeah. Wow. You have very cool, very supportive parents regarding this.
Yeah.
Very trusted, because that's intense to let them...
Yeah. And I think it was, they just knew what I was doing. Like, they knew... it always, like, was known that I was going to do this kind of, like, forever, it seems like. That I was going to be probably doing stand-up. So I think they knew I was just going to literally get off the train and walk to whatever show or open mic. So...
Yeah, my parents, like, because I'm the one that kind of moved away, So it's like, when I moved to Chicago without knowing, like, anybody. Like, there may be a couple alumni from my college that I peripherally knew, but, like I knew, like, pretty much nobody when I moved here. I mean, I guess some people from classes at IO or whatever that I took during, but like I didn't hardly really anybody. Like I didn't have any family, anything, and it's just like they knew that like they can't tell me not to. It's like because I'm just gonna do it. Like that's just like like I travel to Southeast Asia by myself, and it's just like they know like they can't be like, hey, don't go to Cambodia. Like I'm just gonna do it. So they might as well be like, all right, we're happy for you.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's you're very lucky to have those kinds of parents.
Yeah, I am very thankful for it, and in LA also moving there, like we do just have a ton of friends and stuff that live out there that it won't be
lonely.
That won't, I don't think, ever be a thing. So.
And what about the acting? You want to try to do acting out there?
Yeah, I've been in Chicago. I've been with Lily's talent agency since like I think I was 17. Okay. So I've gained some random commercials and things like that over the years, and I'd like to dive into that world more.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
So. Yeah, it's just getting out there. Now it's kind of just like taking care of everything here as far as like logistics, like moving stuff out of the apartment and that sort of stuff,
That's always insane. Yeah.
So this last couple weeks will be a lot of like we just have everything all over the place trying to sell stuff and get rid of it.
That's hard.
Yeah, but it's all good though.
That's good. Yeah. That sounds exciting though.
Yeah.
So you've always was there anything else you wanted to do aside from this, or you always saw yourself as a performer?
I'd say, I mean, when I was younger, that was kind of, I wanted to be a comedian and a hockey player. Was all I
It's like, I love it, the naivety of being young. Oh, I could do both of these. I could be a comedian and a hockey player. I'm going to be like a double threat.
That was very much what I wanted to do. And then I'd say by the time I was going into high school, hockey, I was still very serious about it. But then,
you have to be when you're a kid, because my brother played. We had to get up at like 5 a.m. to some of the games.
It's crazy.
The rink space and all that.
It's crazy. But I'd say once I started doing stand-up, I kind of was like, well, I want to do stand-up. And hockey, if I were to play in college, it would be just taking up too much time. So then I just decided to be a comedian.
Yeah, just comedian.
Just comedian. Yeah. Just one.
First you're like, hey, I want to be a pro hockey player. Which isn't a goal for a lot of Americans, I feel like.
It's kind of a weird one also, but I don't know.
No.
Who knows what, but then comedian was always, I think, the real one. I think hockey player was more like just...
the dream? So
more, not even the dream, I think more like when you're in elementary school, even then it's weird to say you want to be a comedian. I think
I think it'd be very weird if like people in elementary school like were watching comedy. I think that's like a weird thing.
I just don't even think. I think it was much more common that it's like the kids next to me are writing like baseball player,
police officer,
baseball player, basketball player. So hockey player, I think, was my easy go-to as far as dream job that I'd write, because even now it's when I tell people that I am a comedian, it's just it's impossible to explain to a person what that means.
Yeah, you're right, and it's like some people are just assume like, oh, just tell me a joke right now, and that's like, I hate that.
And that's not how it works. And then it's also not just doing stand, like that's not
the only part of it.
You need to be sending emails, a lot of emails, and be writing a lot, like...
You need to be working on your craft really and doing understand. A lot of...
But... Yeah, so kind of just always was the thing I wanted to do.
That's good.
Yeah.
So you write when you get tired, late at night. Do you also write in the morning, or do you have different times when you write?
I'm more... As far as joke writing, at night... Randomly, I might think of a weird one-liner before as I'm falling asleep. And then stand-up, I'll walk around, talk to myself. Yeah? Is the main stand-up writing.
Was that weird to explain to your girlfriend when she moved in? To be like, hey, I walk around, because I talk to myself too.
I do it public. I do it on the streets, though.
Yeah. Oh. So, yeah. So you really look like a crazy person.
I really look like a crazy person.
Have you had any weird encounters with people? Or they're like...
All the time. I get weird where I'm talking and then someone's sitting in the car, like parked car, and I'm like, then I need to act like I'm like singing or something. Like,
pretend like you have Bluetooth.
It seems less weird if I like... Normally, if I'm talking to myself and I see someone in a car, normally I go to like, ba-da-doo, like change it to like a scat, And then I think that throws him off the crazy trail. I think it's much more acceptable to just be whistling or scatting.
Yeah. Well, I like saying my thoughts out loud, because when I say them out loud, hearing them like gives me more thoughts on how to like expand that and trying to imagine how I would do it.
Exactly.
But I usually do that in the comfort of my home. Okay. Yeah, I don't usually. I do. But I would maybe I'll try it outside.
Yeah, I do it out and about, and I think there's something about hearing, like, oh, that, like, sounded kind of funny.
Well, I think a lot of my learning, I like audiobooks a lot, because I think I'm more of an oral learner. When I hear it, I can help remember it. And also when I write stuff down, I also remember. Yeah. So, like, hearing myself say things lets me realize, oh, this is... And sometimes I'll even imagine if a different comic did my joke, how they would do it. Work, and just, like, I play with my head and that kind of thing. It's like, oh, like... if this joke was written by this person, and it's just like a silly kind of game I have in my head.
Yeah, there's some comics that I've joked around being like, it would take me
Really?
It's kind of a thing I like to do.
Good thing I knew this, like, after I booked you on the podcast.
Yeah. I'd say it's more on stage. I try to say the least amount of words as possible.
That's interesting. That's what a lot of actors, actually, some actors, like, old school actors, like, preferred, like, less words in the script because it gave them more to do.
Yeah.
Least words as possible. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. I like that.
Yeah. That's and I think it's totally preference and depends on what you're doing, you know? Mm-hmm. That wouldn't work for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like, I think...
because you do a lot of weird stuff. Like, I mean that in a compliment.
Just sitting in it. Yeah. I like sitting in jokes for a long time.
Making it uncomfortable.
As long as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then once they get uncomfortable, then they start to laugh because they don't know what else to do.
Yeah.
Like, what was that like when you, like... started doing that? Like, were there times where it worked or didn't work?
I did some one-liners that I'd mix in with more, like, observational stuff when I was younger, and I'd say that's when it started, like, I started being like, okay, I could sit in that joke for a lot longer than these other jokes, these other, like, style jokes, and then I started kind of, I think, writing everything in the way I wrote, like, a couple jokes early on that were working, and then I just started kind of doing it with everything.
So do you stare stage. When you do that? You stare at do you pick a one person in the audience to stare at and make them comfortable, or? I
normally don't stare. I normally no eye contact.
No eye contact.
Yeah, normally up.
Yes.
Or back turned or something.
But you love that stretch.
Yeah.
Because I like stretching things. I mean, I guess I haven't done it as much with comedy, because usually mine is more energetic.
Yeah.
But that's, like, my style, probably because of the Ritalin, but let's just be honest with that. And that's why I smoke weed, just chill me out a bit, so that way I don't talk a mile a minute on stage. But... For me, I love in general in life, I love the stretching. I love anticipation. Like, that's one of my favorite things, is anticipation.
Yeah, definitely.
Which I really like, so that idea of using that more in a joke is kind of fun.
Yeah, it definitely my... If I'm doing very well, I'll be saying very little. That's when I know I'm having a great set.
Yeah.
Is I'm able to not say very much. The, like, less I say...
Do you ever get where it's, like, your one word and that's the punchline and you just laugh
and it just keeps like... going, and which is sometimes, if everyone's on board, then you're able to just stumble around and... Yeah.
That's cool. I like that. Cool. Well, as we're, like, winding down the podcast, I know we covered this a little bit earlier, but I always like to ask people what your dreams are for the future.
I'd say right now I'm moving to LA, so I want to get more involved in acting and writing, which those just opportunities aren't really available.
Yeah.
Or as far, like, very professionally.
Yeah. So do you want to, like, write, like, screenwriting or, like, pilots?
I'd say, pilots and sitcoms I'd probably enjoy writing for the most. And then acting in them as well would be...
Any dream show that you would, like, kill to write for?
Like Late Show with David Letterman.
Yeah.
I would have loved to be able to work with Letterman.
Yeah.
I still hope that someday in some weird other universe I'm able to work with Letterman.
Yeah.
But that's a good dream. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for doing the podcast.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
And we always end by saying good night, everybody. Good night. Thanks for listening to Sleeping with Sarah, where I slept with AJ Lubecker. You can follow AJ on Twitter and Instagram at @thereal_AJ. This podcast is part of the Laugh Factory Podcast Network. Please remember to subscribe and rate and review on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and SoundCloud. We're brought to you by Audible.com. Please go to audibletrial.com/sleepingwithsarah. I'm releasing a new podcast each week. Be sure to tune in to find out who I have in bed with me next. Thanks to Josh Bryant for the music. You can find out more on sleepingwithsarah.com, and please follow me on Twitter at Sarah Albritton. Until next time, good night.
Sleeping with Sarah.